All right. Okay. Good afternoon again. Thank you officially, Father, for the Mass that you've celebrated in the honor of our beloved and esteemed brother Rotarian Victor Floresca. So for those who have just tuned in from fellow Rotarians, friends and relatives of Vic, we will now commence with our tribute, our memorial tribute for our esteemed brother Victor. Before we start, I'd like to welcome my fellow Rotarians who are in this. We have grown to close to 40 people now hooked into this memorial, and we are led by no less than our President Peter Manzano, and my other co-host, Reggie, Nolido, past President Reggie Nolido, and of course, our Rotarian par excellence, Rotarian Paing Hechanova, a past Rotary International Director. I would also like to welcome the relatives and friends of Vic. And I'd like to start by requesting Tiffy or Tiffany to please introduce us to the family of Rotarian Vic. Tiffy, if you're there, please do the honors.
Okay, thanks. So my mom, Ann Zeny Floresca, and then my brother, our eldest, Matthew Floresca, and his wife, Lulu, and their kids, Paolo and Mickey. Come on. Okay, so this is Matthew, his wife, Lulu, Nikki, and Paolo. Okay, and then my next brother, Albert, and his wife, Stella. Sorry, and then he has two sons, Miguel and Sandro. Okay, and then next would be my sister, Adette, her husband, Kit Bermudez, their kids, their daughters, Kiara, Kayla, and their youngest, Carlo. Okay. And I'm Tiffy Floresca-Lorenzana. It's my husband, David Lorenzana, and our kids, Gabby, Danny, this is Danny, this is Javi, and my youngest, Sandy.
Hello. Yep.
So we're 4, and then my dad has 11 grandkids.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're complete. So again, we're very happy to meet the family. Of course, Ann Zeny has been active with the Rotary Ants, and we've, of course, interacted with her in the many socials, many fellowship socials of our club, where our ants were also present. Okay, at this juncture, our Chief of Staff and co-host Angie will now present a short video presentation on Brother Vic's involvement in the Rotary Club of Makati. Take it away, Ron.
Turn on the video. You can turn on video. You can see you now.
Okay. I don't know.
DJ, can you turn on video, please? No. Thank you.
What number do we have to go?
Okay, thank you, Ron and Angie. With that short video, at least we were able to get a flashback on the Rotary life of Rotarian brother Vic. There will be a tribute sharing by 4 fellow Rotarians from Makati, and this will be. Let me just get it right. This will be starting with myself, PRID Paing Hechanova, past President Reggie Nolido, and finally President Peter Manzano will do the encore. I will start the tributes for Vic by recalling the name. Recalling the name of past. Can I be heard by everyone? Can I be heard?
Yes, you're good, Tito.
Okay.
Go ahead, Tito. We hear you.
I'm good. Okay.
Hear you, Tito.
I'll start
Can hear
our
you.
tribute by recalling the name of past President Art Meisner. Now, who is Art Meisner? Well, coincidentally, even before I joined the Rotary Club in 1981, I had met past President Art Meisner, not in Rotary, but he was a professor when I was taking up my MBA at the Ateneo de Manila in the old Padre Faura campus. That was around, I must have had Art Meisner as professor circa 1976. He was then president of Roman Haas, a chemical company head office in Philadelphia with a big operation in the Philippines. I mentioned past President Art because he was instrumental, very instrumental in our Rotary Club in becoming perhaps the richest club in the Philippines, if not in Asia, the richest Rotary Club. President Art then was president of Roman Haas at that time when the Laurel Langley Act was abrogated, so to speak, when the privileges of foreign companies, particularly American companies, the privilege of owning real estate properties in the Philippines was abruptly abrogated by this act. This act, which allowed Americans to own, was abruptly stopped by then President Marcos during the martial law years. Because of this abrogation or termination of the privileges of the Laurel Langley Act, foreign companies had to find a way, or were forced, in effect, to nationalize their properties here. And so they started to think out of the box. Many of them who didn't want to give up their properties here, literally give it up. They started to think out of the box and devised legal ways by which they could continue operating on those properties. One of them is Roman Haas. Roman Haas has a big facility in Zapote, Alabang, Zapote Road in Alabang, Muntinlupa. And And what the lawyers devised was that they were going to use the Rotary Club of Makati as a donor, as a donee, no? And Roman Haas was going to be a donor that will donate its property to the Rotary Club of Makati under a certain kind of quid pro quo privilege. And the quid pro quo privilege was that Roman Haas could use the facilities that they will cede to the Rotary Club of Makati for what we call a very reasonable amount of money as lease payment. And this would go on for 25 years. So this arrangement was hatched circa 73 and eventually got into effect, was signed in 1974, and it would run up to 1999. And of course, we were so grateful for Art for this act of statesmanship, you might want to call, but at the same time, also with a certain civic-mindedness in the process. Of course, this is one of two properties that Rotary Club of Makati had inherited, so to speak, in this manner, with the termination of the privilege of the Laurel Langley Act. The other one was the couple property in Bikutan. So, for the next 25 years after 1974, the property was turned over to us in name, literally. And circa 1979, I believe, President Art Meisner had to be recalled to head office, and he went back to Philadelphia and came in the person that we now know as Rotarian brother Victor Floresca. He was then, I recall, the COO, one of the top executives of Roman Haas in the Philippines, homebred, locally winged to be a top executive of Roman Haas. He joined the Rotary Club in '79 and practically took over the responsibilities that Roman Haas would have over that property in relation to the Rotary Club of Makati. Well, Vic just didn't do a perfunctory job of being a Rotarian because, in a way, he was by force of circumstance enjoined to join the Rotary Club of Makati. He embraced the membership with a passion. He became a very active member. I recall even becoming 100%er in attendance in some years. But I know the distance between Las Piñas, or rather Alabang, to Makati was sometimes very difficult for him to faithfully attend the meetings every Tuesdays. But nonetheless, Vic became, as I said, an involved member, joining several committees all the time that he was a member. And 25 or say 23 years passed by so fast. I joined the club in '81, not knowing that someday or one day, Vic Floresca, myself, past president, and of course PDG Tony Kila, and other top Rotarians of the club would soon engage Roman Haas, basically led by Vic Floresca on the other side, to negotiate the new lease contract after the 25th year of the first contract would have come in 1999. So as early as 1997 and 1998, negotiations went on a fever pitch to come up with a very attractive, or at least mutually beneficial lease arrangement between Rome and Haas, and of course our Rotary Club of Makati. I'd like to single out, of course, Brother Vic on the Roman Haas side, as well as perhaps what you call on the Rotary side. It was spearheaded by then President Tony Kila. He was our president Rotary year 98, 99, and it fell squarely on his administration to finalize and sign a new commercial lease contract with Roman Haas. The rest is history, because this particular negotiated commercial lease made our club truly financially and enduringly independent and financially well off. Whereas, as I said, during the first 25 years, there was really a very reasonable lease rate. After the 25th year, starting 1999, the commercial lease arrangement benefited our club a lot of financial independence. And I'm very happy, and that's why I said I was a coincidence in this historical, very important financial historical trivia of the Rotary Club of Makati, because I was the first president of the club, 99 to 2000, that wholly benefited from the newfound financial bounty of the club, together, of course, with the other property, Coppel Philippines, which was also renegotiated with a handsome lease arrangement. So I'd like to thank Rotarian Vic, for I know that he was there, of course, working in the interest of Roman Haas. But at the same time, I know in his heart, he wanted to provide a very good deal for the Rotary Club of Makati. That would make us, as I said, already perennially a very sound and a very rich club that would, of course, benefit so much more of our civic projects, enduring civic projects, our sustainable projects became very possible and sustained through the years. So, Rotarian Vic, I think this is where I will tip my hat and end my tribute. You are forever going to be in the club's historical posterity. You and Art Meissner will always come out as the leading characters for what the Rotary Club is, at least in the financial sense. I suppose we were so grateful for Art that yes, in my installation as president of the Rotary Club in 1999, we actually invited and took care of Art Meissner, President Art Meissner, to visit the Philippines and be my inducting officer, do the honors of inducting me to the presidency. Of course, by that time, Art had already long retired from Roman Haas and was already living in retirement and in serenity somewhere in the suburbs of San Francisco, if I remember. But through all of this, as I said, Brother Vic was there in the shadows, like a Saint Joseph. I think everybody who knows Rotarian Vic would perhaps easily compare him to Saint Joseph, a silent, quiet worker in the shadows of those in the limelight, but always dependable, ready to help when called for, or even when not called for, where he would just voluntarily give a helping hand to whoever is needed. So through the next 20 years, or 21 years, 20 years, because the last year, of course, was COVID. But of course, Rotarian Vic was still very active up to January 2020, February 2020. He was still very strong and healthy, and he was attending our meetings religiously and faithfully. In fact, there were times in the 2019, in the last several years, when Rotarian Vic would just call me out of the blues because he would like to engage me in some exchange on some comments I would put forth in our Makati threading, which has really become a very active and interesting way of sharing your thoughts, your opinions. And when I would post something that was that interested Vic, he would just call me and tell me and ask me if I could expound on what I meant with what I said. Well, Vic has always remained cerebral, has always remained circumspective, a brainy person, as he is. Of course, he wouldn't be a top executive of Roman Has, and of course, even later on as a consultant to Boysen, Philippines, if he were not a very intelligent and circumspective person. We'll miss you, Brother Vic. We'll miss your quiet presence during the meetings. You were always there, and we do hope that the spirit by which you live and the spirit by which you lived your Rotary life be an influence to all of us you have left behind. And in fact, perhaps we wouldn't mind if one of the Floresca boys, Matthew or Andrew, or both, can join our club, and you guys can continue the legacy that your father has left behind. So we do hope that we could get a favorable response. So in ending, I would just like to quote, it's an anonymous quote, but I always like to say it when I have come across people in jest. I would say, Brother Vic, you are a giant oak tree, but I do remember that in Rotary Club, you were once a nut like you and me. And the giant oak tree was once a nut like you and me. So, Vic, pray for us up there and continue to intervene for us with the good Lord, and listen to our supplications, especially of your family and of our club and our members. God bless, and please also bless us in your peaceful life with the good Lord. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, perhaps let's pause a bit. And in pausing, I'd like now to call on our Rotary guru, a Rotarian par excellence, past Rotary International Director, Paing Hechanova. Please, PRID Paing.
You're on mute.
Tapos na yung masses. PRID Paing, I think you're, please unmute. I think, yeah, you're muted. You're muted. The muted sign is appearing here. All right, okay. Oh, you're muted again.
No.
You're still muted. You're still muted. PRID Paing,
You're mute.
please
You're
ask
on
your assistant to unmute you. You're still
to have
muted.
this opportunity.
Tito,
Okay,
you can
yeah,
host,
okay.
unmute. Okay, unmute now. Okay.
And I extend my personal condolences and prayers.
It was sweat.
Vic joined the Rotary Club in 1979. Other than the charter members, there are only few Rotarians who are still alive in that batch of 1970s to become members. But that is about 40 years ago. And Vic has remained as a Rotarian. That is a tribute to Vic, his continuous love for the Rotary Club and its members. He was one of those who tries to make his appearance and support for the Tuesday weekly meetings by being always present and not being attention getter or boastful, but just being a Rotarian, friendly to everybody. He greets everyone with a smile. I just like this video that was shown earlier. Most of them show Vic in a smile. We thank Vic. I thank Vic, and I consider him as one of my longtime friends in Rotary. All of us Rotarians thank Vic for being instrumental in having that corporation Roman has for donating their property in Las Piñas under the Laurel-Langley Agreement. That agreement, in short, just specified American companies would own land for 25 years from 1950, then lease it to an institution for another 25 years as a lower rental rate, after which in 2000, the Rotary Club Foundation was entitled to receive a rental rate commensurate to its current value. That, in short, is what it's all about. And that is his lifetime contribution to all of us Rotarians, as it enabled us to do our work in helping communities to develop, to assist the underprivileged, to give hope to people, and make a difference, to assist because we care. To the Rotary Club and the Rotary Club of Makati Foundation. So, Vic, that is a contribution that is unequaled by any Rotarian. May our Lord grant you eternal peace. You have done what the Lord has given you in your lifetime in earth. I am sorry to say that I wrote this week to Art Meissner who was my longtime friend too, that Vic had passed away. We shall miss you. We shall miss you. May you rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, PRID Paeng, our primus inter pares. Yes, our primus inter pares Rotarian, not only in our club, but in the Philippines today. And that is how much he appreciates Brother Vic's contribution to the Rotary Club of Makati. May I now call next past President Reggie Nolido to render his own tribute to Brother Vic. EP, Reggie, are you ready?
Thank you, Tito. To Zeny and Vic's dear family, our sincerest condolences on the passing of Vic. Thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts and memories of our dear friend and fellow Rotarian. Let me start by saying that Father Time is indeed undefeated. We are once again gathered to remember the life and memory of a member of our club. Just recently, we said goodbye to Puno and to Dick, to Mundi, Ray, and Larry, and now our dear friend Vic. With his passing, we are again reminded that life is precious and that each moment is a gift we must treasure. With each passing moment, we are given the opportunity to be the best that we can be, as persons, as businessmen, as friend, colleague, partner, husband, father, grandfather, Rotarian, human being. Instead of harboring hatred in our hearts, perhaps we should sow love. Instead of envy, gratitude. Instead of lies, truth. Instead of greed, generosity. Vic, in his life, in every moment, always chose the better path. My wife and I met Vic and Zeny early in my Rotary life. We were in an international trip, which I believe was when the late PDG Robert Kwan brought his entire team with wives to Bangkok for our planning seminar. I was then a young member, very much intimidated by the luminaries around me, unsure of how to act, but eager to learn. Back then, I kept to myself in fear that I would say something wrong. But one lasting memory during that trip will always be the friendliness and generosity of our dear friend Vic, and of course Zeny. He was a senior member of the team, but he always made me feel at home. Perhaps seeing how reluctant I was, he would call me over to sit with him and tell me about his life in Rotary. Zeny, you and Vic were always accommodating to me and Sue. Thank you for being so, as you two were a big part of the reasons I stayed in the club. In talking about Vic as a Rotarian, we would invariably talk about his time with Roman Haas and how he helped the foundation acquire the properties in Las Piñas, which is now the lifeblood of our charitable endeavors. PRID Paing and Tito has already expounded so much on that. Suffice it to say that he was a key in those negotiations. In the years that followed, he nurtured our relationship with their benefactors and was always there for those visits to the factory. You could see the pride and happiness in his eyes as he talked about those days. You should be proud, Vic, as what you did left an indelible mark in our history. Without Vic, we would not have the resources we have today, and yet he remained humble, quietly dignified as he sat in the meetings, drawing no attention to himself. Vic was always such a sweet man. Early on, he was always one of those who would cajole me into taking the reins of leadership in the club. When I did become the president, Vic was one of the first to congratulate me, and he then would always be a source of encouragement. So many times during the year, he would call or text to comment on the column I wrote in our Kaunlaran. In the weeks he missed the meeting, he would ask me to tell the staff to send over copies of the Kaunlaran to him, as he loved reading everything we did. He actually read every word. Just going through the messages he would post in our Viber group, he would always congratulate good deeds, But more than that, he too would arrange for donations during calamities. Um, he donated to relief efforts. He was quick to congratulate and always encouraged us to do more, as he himself did more. Just this last October, I moderated one of our club meetings where we had Mr. Calixto Chiquiamco as our speaker. I think I did a pretty okay job as a moderator and guided the discussion accordingly. After the meeting, I moved on to the next thing on my plate when I got a Viber message at 3:49 in the afternoon, a mere 19 minutes after adjournment. Vic reached out to me to say, PP Reggie, congratulations for a very well moderated and orderly program. Animo. Sure, I received congratulations in our main Viber page from our members, but for Vic to go out of his way to send me a personal message is a true reflection of the type of man he is. He is kind, he is sweet, he is appreciative, he is quick to praise. He is just, for a lack of a better word, good. When I think of Vic, he is that good. Zeny, you were, or should I say, still are the love of his life. When we still met at the pen for club meetings, I would always ask about you and how you were doing. While he confessed that you guys were having challenges due to some medical reasons, he would always tell me how he cared for you. He would then apologize for not being able to attend, but it was because he had to be with you. I would ask him to join our evening fellowships in Friday night's lights, but he would gently beg off and say he would rather be with you and his family. But then he would always turn the tables around and hold both my hands, look up to me with his kind eyes, and say thank you for remembering Zeny and for asking how she is doing. He always did that. He always made me feel good, even as I was trying to comfort him. I will miss that kind man. I will miss that gentleman. When I heard that he was not doing so well and eventually passed on, I could not help but take a moment to sit by the side of my bed and say a little prayer for him. You may have been a quiet and unassuming man, Vic, but you loomed large in my Rotary life. You were a giant in the history of our club. We owe you our eternal appreciation. God bless you, dear friend. Watch over us from above. Find peace and comfort in the loving embrace of our Lord. Much love from me, dear friend, for just being who you are. Thank you.
Thank you,
Condolences again
Reggie.
to the family.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Tito, you may be on mute.
All right, yeah. Okay, I'm fine. Am I good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, PP Reggie. Well, you're in good hands with Brother Vic in that board composition under then President Robert Kwan. Well, PP Reggie, I would say you were one of the youngest, or the stint in Rotary before you became president, perhaps one of the shortest in the history of the club. You were probably just what, a little over 5 years in the club when you were eventually nominated as president, right? Anyway, thank you for those really kind and very appreciative words for Brother Vic. Okay, to cap our tribute, I'd like to hand it over to our anchor man, another articulate, another prescient and profound speaker in President Peter Manzano. Peter, President, please take over.
Thank you, PP Tito. I used to call Manong Vic Sir Vic but then he insisted that I call him Manong Vic. That's probably because we are both Ilocanos and he wanted us to use the endearing terms Manong and adding to each other. I just realized that Manong Vic has been a Rotarian for 42 years. That means that when I joined the Rotary Club of Makati some 21 years ago, it was also his 21st year as a Rotarian then. Wow. Manong Vic was one of those who warmly welcomed me to the club as he talked about the club's committees and its service projects then. He struck me as a good-natured person, always smiling. But more than just a happy face, he always went out of his way to provide help not just to the club, but personally to me. Back in 2004, my wife Pam had to deliver our youngest child in the family while we were in the province. We were at Lorma Hospital in San Fernando, La Union, when out of nowhere, I received a call from Manong Vic. I didn't know how he knew we were at the emergency room of Lorma Hospital, but he asked me, "How can I help?" I told him that my cousin is a doctor at the hospital and that she was attending to us. But as soon as my wife got out of the operating room, we were ushered to the hospital's presidential suite. I learned later that the owners of the hospital are the relatives of Manong Vic and Manang Zeny. So whenever we had the chance to see each other, he would always ask about our La Union baby. I guess his personal mantra has always been, "How can I help?" We have heard from those who have spoken before me how he was instrumental in the acquisition from Roman Haas, one of the properties which has yielded rental income that we use for our humanitarian projects. But he never stopped trying to find ways and means to contribute to the club's projects. Even during the pandemic, he has been active contacting his priest friends to help in our voters registration campaign. He donated and solicited from his friends and relatives cash and goods for our Paul Harris kitchen operations during our relief operations in Metro Manila and in our Feed the Hungry project. We will always remember Manong Vic as the ever happy, generous, and helpful Rotarian, friend, and mentor. And though it's difficult for us to keep ourselves in high spirits amidst these difficult times, I'm sure Manong Vic is smiling for us from where he is, assuring us everything will be fine. Thank you, Manong Vic. Thank you for your service to the Rotary Club of Makati and to humanity. And thank you for your friendship.
Thank you, President Peter. I'd like to also give time also for our family members to sit and reflect on the tributes that we have given before we call them for their response. No? I'd like to pause for a minute or two, just for everyone to have this, this moment, this serene moment after listening and seeing our video, the sharing that we rendered for Brother Vic. Let's take this minute or two just to continue remembering him, remembering his good deeds, remembering his legacy as Roman has COO in helping cement our sustainability as a club financially. Definitely a very big pillar to the support our club needs anytime. All right. May I now call to provide the response. Let me just get this correctly. May we now call on daughter Bernadette Floresca-Bermudez to please extend the response of the family to our club. Bernadette?
Good afternoon. I'm Bernadette Floresca-Bermudez, the third child of Vic Floresca. On behalf of my mom, Rotary Ann Zeny Floresca, and our whole family, I would like to thank Tito Panlilio, PRID Paing Hechanova, PP Reggie Nolido, President Peter Manzano, for your tribute to our dad. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much. For Papa, attending the Tuesday meeting of the Rotary Club of Makati was a habit that was hard to break. Even when we had moved to Ayala West Road, he would still go all the way to Makati to attend the Rotary meetings, although maybe not as often as he used to. During the pandemic, he would still join the meetings online, and it was the main reason why he insisted on getting a webcam for his desktop. He learned so much and was always excited to share with us his key takeaways from each meeting. It was also his way of keeping in touch. We would talk about how he has lost a lot of his contemporaries in the club, and there were already a lot of younger members, a lot he hasn't even met yet or knew well, but the purpose of the club remained constant for him. It was still a venue for him to serve and to help, whether to donate relief goods or sponsor the painting of some structure, or simply being an advisor or a negotiator. He was very proud of the club and had much respect and admiration for its past and current president, especially the leadership. He shared a lot of happy memories, food trips, both abroad and local, with the members of the club, Christmas bazaars, parties, and most of all, the fellowship. He believed in the cause. He believed in helping. And he believed that there's always something one can do, in whatever capacity, regardless of age or location. So, on behalf of our family, we would like to thank my dad's RCM, Rotary Club of Makati family, for preparing this beautiful memorial mass for him. We truly appreciate the time and effort you put into this, and for the beautiful memories you have shared, the recognition for his services to the club, which he has been part of for the past 42 years. Thank you.
Welcome, Bernadette. Certainly, our club more than wanted to do this memorial service. In fact, we wanted it immediately after his death, his passing. But of course, we understand that you had made preparations already up to the 9th day. In fact, we were ready to get Father Tito Kaluag, who coincidentally is a common friend of your family and us. Well, I'm sure many of us here from Ateneo in the club consider Father Tito a very good friend. He was more than willing to say the mass, and in fact, he even mentioned to me when I talked to him about your dad. Well, he said, when I gave a talk in the Rotary Club, he was the one who brought me home to West Grove. I didn't even know that,
Yeah.
And your neighbors there. And of course, during this lockdown, we followed the mass of Father Tito, and we know very well the state of your dad, because he would always announce it for healing, prayers for healing of your dad. No, and of course, that's also where we received the sad news in that mass, no, that your dad has left us behind. So anyway, so we end this memorial, this tribute. Very hard to say, to end it with a happy note, as we would want it to be, and I'm sure that's also how your dad would want us to end this, this kind of a celebration of life. And so we bid Vic goodbye officially today, but rest assured, friends and relatives and fellow Rotarians, Brother Vic would always be in our minds and in our hearts. He's already carved in stone, so to speak, in our hearts. But I think more important, may I suggest to President Peter, if it has not been done yet, I believe that we should put a historical marker in the Roman Haas property, which is now, of course, Rotary Makati, recognizing there the people responsible for such an achievement, for such a realization of eternal financial stability for our club. Has
Yes.
it been done? Anybody could
We will do that, PP Tito. Thank you very much.
yeah, I believe that as we talk now of concretizing the memory of Brother Vic, I believe that more than just that, he and Art Meisner deserve to be immortalized in a historical marker in the compound of the former Roman Haas property, now RCM property. I will follow that up, President Peter, and
Thank
we
you.
will invite the family,
Yeah, we will
certainly,
do that. Thank you.
led by Ann Zeny, and you guys who have had a close personal interaction with Brother Vic, to join us during the commemoration, formal commemoration of that marker. Okay, is that the deal?
Yes, Tito. We'll do that. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, we bid goodbye. God bless everybody, and see you in our next Tuesday meeting. Bye. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Condolence again to the Floresca family. Manang Zeny.
Condolence.
Condolences.
Floresca